All right, the second Democratic debate, or the second night of the first Democratic debate. Um, well, I mean, I think overall it was better than the first night, and overall people did better. I agree that Kamala Harris, one thing, she mopped the floor with Joe Biden's head. Um, and even though she wasn't always maximally eloquent, I think in a way she conveyed emotion by that too. Um, Buttigieg did fine. He really is an impressive person and seemingly so sincere, which is kind of refreshing. Um, I doubt that of a lot of the others. They're unable to convey that impression anyway. Um, Actually, I ended up being kind of impressed by Bennett, even though I was saying like maybe he should drop out in midstream. Uh, but I think he ended up saying some interesting things, and it's kind of interesting, calming persona. Um, we can get rid of a bunch of people again, like on the first night. I think we could delete Hickenlooper. I think Swalwell, Gillibrand is. I don't know what to make of Gillibrand. Um, she's not particularly impressive. Let's put it that way, and I don't think she's going to get elected president. Um, and I think we should eliminate Joe Biden. Okay, uh, that was pitiful, and really in my life, I'm trying to cultivate universal love and see the inner light in every human being, right? But I'm only having mixed success with that, and I think that Joe Biden is an idiot, and I think that's been obvious for decades. And all you have to do is listen to what he says. So actually, what I'm going to do this morning is just read some of the quotes from the transcript from Joe Biden. But he was like this 30 years ago. It's not that he's undergoing an aging process, it's that he is incapable of making rudimentary sense. He can't even deliver memorized sound bites accurately. All right. Uh, um, so here's some quotes from Joe Biden last night. This is basically his opening statement. What I am saying is that we've got to be straightforward. We have to make sure we understand that to return dignity to the middle class, they have to have insurance that is covered and they can afford it. They have to make sure that inaudible, situation where there's continuing education and they are able to pay for it. And they have to make sure that they are able to breathe air that is clean, and they have water they can drink. Look, Donald Trump has put us in a horrible situation. We do have enormous income inequality, and one thing I agree honestly can make massive cuts in the $1 trillion in tax loopholes out there. One thing I agree honestly can make massive cuts in the $1.6 trillion in tax loopholes out there. Okay, on healthcare. We can deal with insurance companies by, number one, putting insurance executives in jail for their misleading advertising and what they're doing on opioids. Applause. What they're doing, paying doctors to prescribe. We could be doing this by making sure everyone who is on Medicare that the government should be able to negotiate the price for whatever the drug costs are. We can do this by making sure that we're in a position that we, in fact, allow people. You mean my time's up? On immigration. The first thing I would do is unite families. I would surge immediately billions of dollars worth of help to the region immediately. Look, I talk about foreign policy. I am the guy that got a bipartisan agreement at the very end of the campaign, at the very end of our term, to spend $740 million to deal with the problem, and that was to go to the root cause of why people are leaving in the first place. It was working. We saw, as you know, a net decrease in the number of children who were coming. The crisis was updated, and along came this president, and he said he immediately terminated that, discontinued that, sorry. Now, number two, as the Vice President of the United States, I worked with a man who, in fact, we worked very hard to see it to it. We dealt with these issues in a major, major way. This is on race in response to Harris. The fact is that in terms of busing, you would have been able to go to school the exact same way because it was a local decision made by your city council. That's fine. That's one of the things I argued for, that we should not be. We should be breaking down these lines. I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed was busing ordered by the Department of Education. That is what I opposed. The Department of Education did not exist when he was working against busing, which is not necessarily wrong, actually, working against busing in the 70s. I was a busing baby, but I'll leave that for another time, maybe. I supported the ERA from the very beginning. I am the guy that extended the Voting Rights Act for 25 years. He did that personally. We got to the place where we got 98 out of 98 votes in the United States Senate doing it. I have also argued very strongly that we, in fact, deal with the notion of denying people access to the ballot box. I agree that everybody, once they, in fact, my time is up. I'm sorry. The time's up was a relief to everybody, including Biden, who has no idea where any sentence is going once it starts. Okay, so how about climate change? And new science and technology to be the exporter not only of the green economy, the exporter of the green economy, but economy that can create millions of jobs. But I would immediately rejoin the Paris Climate Accord. I would up the ante in that accord, which it calls for, because we make up 15% of the problem. 85% of the world makes up the rest. All right, like the simplest statistics that we issue 15% of the greenhouse emissions, and the other, so therefore the rest of the world issues 85% of the greenhouse emissions. He can't read it coherently. Because we make up 15% of the problem, 85% of the world makes up the rest. Okay, on gun control. Number two, we increased that background check when during the Obama administration, during the Obama-Biden administration. I'm also the only guy that got assault weapons banned. And the number of clips in a gun banned. The number of clips in a gun banned. And so, folks, look, and I would buy back those weapons. We already started talking about that. We tried to get it done. I think it can be done. And it should be demanded that we do it. And that's a good expenditure of money. And lastly, we should have smart guns. Okay, and that goes on. Our enemy is the gun manufacturers, not the NRA. Did he mean to say that? I don't know. Okay, and then the concluding statement, right, which is obviously heavily rehearsed. You have 45 seconds. You know you're going to have 45 seconds. You know, you can read a rigmarole, or you can try to be off the cuff or responsive or something like that. But, I mean, he can't do either of those things. Biden's concluding statement. Thank you very much. I am running to leave this country because I think it is important that we restore the soul of this nation. This president has ripped it out. He is the only president in our history who has equated racist and white supremacists with ordinary decent people. He is the only president who is that engaged and embrace dictators and thumb their nose at our allies. He is the only president who is that engaged and embraced dictators and thumb their nose at our allies. No, he's not the first American president to embrace dictators, for God's sakes. I am, secondly, running for president because I think we have to restore the backbone of America. The poor and hardworking middle class people, you can't do that without replacing them with the dignity they once had. Replacing them with the dignity they once had, middle class people. Lastly, we've got to unite the United States of America as much as anybody says we can't. That's how much we have to unite the United States of America, as much as anyone says we can't. If we do, there's not a single thing that the American people can't do except express themselves coherently. This is the United States of America. We can do anything if we're together. So God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. All right. All right, just stop, man. Joe, adios, man. It's over. No one listens to techno.